Southern California, good evening and welcome to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. We have a jam-packed show for you all as it is NCAA basketball season. Oh yes, lots of teams open up their season when it came to the Southern California region, such as UCLA, USC, Cal Baptist, UC Irvine, San Diego State, you name it, with the exception of a couple of teams. And then the Chargers, they didn't lose. They beat the winless Jets. But hey, Justin Herbert had himself another great game as he continues to make history. The LA Rams pull off a big victory over Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Lakers acquire Montrezl Harrell and Wes Matthews Jr. And the Lakers and Clippers preseason has been released. Find out who will be facing those two teams. Who will be facing one another. USC football grinds out a victory over Utah, but their game against Colorado has been canceled. What happened? What will be happening going forward with the Trojans and the Buffs? And San Diego State has a new opponent after their game against Fresno State got canceled. Who is it? Find out that more on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And welcome one, welcome all to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. It is great to be back on here. Happy Friday to you all. Happy Black Friday. And post-Happy Thanksgiving. I hope everyone here had a great Thanksgiving. I sure did, as I celebrated Thanksgiving with my mom and my brother at my stepsister's house in Los Angeles. So I got into the spirit of being in LA. So that was pretty cool. So, yeah, and I hope everyone else had a great Thanksgiving. I like Thanksgiving just because it brings family together, and because of the whole eating, getting together, and the food, and the family, and the happiness, and I'm glad we didn't have to talk about politics. Anyway, so hope you all are doing well. So let's jump on into some Southern California sports action. We'll start with some NCAA basketball action. Let's start with NCAA men's basketball because we have a lot to go through. Like, unlike football, where there's only 3 teams where I cover, when it comes to NCAA men's basketball, there are several teams to cover. It's not just USC or UCLA. It's other teams such as Long Beach State, UC Irvine, Cal State Fullerton, Cal State Northridge, UC Riverside, San Diego State, Pepperdine, Loyola Marymount, all of those schools. So let's get some of the not so important matches out of the way. I wouldn't say not so important. That's a little harsh on my part, but let's get some of the not so big SoCal matchups out of the way. Starting with Cal State Northridge and their opponent Westmont, which is an NAIA school located near the Santa Barbara area. So that's basically Southern California versus Southern California. So long story short, Cal State Northridge beat Westmont 97-79. That's not too big of a surprise. So yeah. And Larry B says, "See, son." Welcome in the chat room, Larry B. Lance Coleman II had led the Matadors with 22 points, and he was 8 for 17 from the field, so that was pretty good. And good effort from Westmont, because I think Northridge was like a 20-some point favorite. Either way, it was pretty much an easy win for Northridge. At least Westmont covered the spread. All right, now let's get into the other semi-important matchups in the NCAA Division I area. UC Riverside opened up its season at Pacific. Pacific is actually one of those good teams coming from the talented West Coast Conference. And they were straight up, it was just straight up dominant. It wasn't full domination. Like, in the second half, UC Riverside started to turn it on, but in the end, it was just too little too late as Pacific won 66-60. I didn't think it was going to be that close, as Will Tattersall led the way with 17 points, 5 for 10 from the field. Jock Perry had 7 boards, and Zion Pullen had 3 assists. So that's some good stuff right there for the Highlanders. The Highlanders play in the Big West Conference, so that's good stuff. Then we had this matchup was quite the fascinating one. It was Southern California versus Southern California, and it was the San Diego Thanksgiving Classic. I'm just going to call it that because I kind of forgot the name by heart, but I'm just going to call it the San Diego SoCal crossover, where Pepperdine, UC Irvine, San Diego State, and UCLA played one another, or well, not like one another, but got to have crossover games at San Diego State. So in this matchup between Pepperdine and UC Irvine, Pepperdine actually came out on top 86 to 72, which was quite nice. I didn't think Pepperdine was going to win. I mean, again, Pepperdine comes from the tough West Coast Conference, which is home to Gonzaga and St. Mary's and BYU and all those tough teams. But I didn't think Pepperdine was going to pull off the win, because UC Irvine's a fantastic team. Russell Turner does a great job, and honestly, his team is always well prepared, but I guess not when it came to Pepperdine. I don't know what it was. So anyway, Kessler Edwards led the Waves with 20 points, 6 of 12 from the field, while chipping in 7 rebounds, and Colby Ross had 8 assists, while Brad Green had 20 points, 10 for 16 from the field. All of his field goals were 2-pointers, because 10 times 2 equals 20. So, yeah, there's your math lesson of the day. And then Brad Green also had 9 rebounds, and then Dawson Baker had 6 assists. So, good stuff right there. Good win for Pepperdine. I'll be talking about them in a little bit later. And then Loyola Marymount. Ooh, baby. Oh, boy. Loyola Marymount had themselves a thriller against Southern Utah, as freshman Jalen Anderson hit a baseline jumper at the buzzer to give Loyola Marymount an 85-83 win. So that was impressive stuff, as the Lions were led by Matthias Markuson, who had 19 points, 6 of 9 from the field, 7 of 9 from the charity stripe. Eli Scott had 8 rebounds while chipping in 7 assists. So that's some good stat stuffing right there. Good win for Loyola Marymount. I was quite impressed as they were able to defend home court. So good on them. Now let's get into some of the more bigger matchups. And there was only 2 other bigger matchups. And the first one featured Cal Baptist at USC. And those 2 schools are quite familiar to Larry B, as those Cal Baptist is his alma mater, while USC is the school that he grew up with, and that I like as well. So this one was quite a good matchup. Like, every time Cal Baptist was down, they managed to pick themselves up and catch up to USC. Like, it was tied 39-39 in the first half, at the end of the first half. Then USC kind of took over in the second half. Then Cal Baptist started to make its push, and it looked like Cal Baptist was actually going to take the win, as they hit 23 pointers. 23 pointers, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 21 from 41 from 3-point territory. Like, Jiminy Christmas. Like, that's almost 50%. Gosh. No wonder USC almost lost. Like, no team could win when their opponents are hitting 12 or 23 pointers. USC only made 5 3-pointers, so that was big right there. But that one of those 5 3-pointers came late in the game, as it was like under a minute to go. Cal Baptist was up by 3, and everyone was thinking, "Oh, it's going to be an upset. Oh, it's an upset, and it's going to happen." And then people who bet on Cal Baptist are going to get paid like crazy. But unfortunately, Taj 80 made a three-pointer with 47 seconds to go in regulation, and that forced overtime. And in overtime, that's where USC just straight up flushed him out, which was quite the bummer. But I have to admire the effort that Cal Baptist put. Like, that's amazing. Going on the road, facing a Power 5 school and almost coming away with the win. Like, I know Cal Baptist has a good team, and they are one of the better teams in the WAC. And matter of fact, Cal Baptist is the only Southern California team from the WAC. But to go on the road and face USC, which has a good freshman class. I know USC is still young, and they have like a bunch of youngsters like the Mobley brothers and a few other guys. And then there's I don't remember his name, but they got one player reinstated, which really helps them a lot. So I'm blanking on his name, but either way, USC just barely squeaked out the win. One thing that USC needs to work on is their free throws. Their free throws just continue to struggle year after year. They were 16 from 30 from the charity from the charity stripe. Yeah, 16 from 30. It's like, God. You can't. No one can win games when you're shooting that poor of a free throw percentage. Cal Baptist, on the other hand, didn't even go to the free throw line that much. They were 3 for 5. So I think I watched some of the game, but I saw that Cal Baptist's strategy was to make a lot of threes, and USC was giving Cal Baptist the option to just make 3 after 3, and eventually it almost hurt the Trojans in this season opener. So Andy Enfield has a lot of work to do. Like, I imagine Enfield should be on the hot seat. I mean, considering USC has underachieved. Like, last year, USC probably should have and could have won the Pac-12 championship. But unfortunately, they didn't, because Oregon and losses to, like, Oregon and Colorado were a thing for USC. But we never even got to see the Pac-12 tournament, which was sad. Derp. So, yeah, but that was a good win for USC. Great effort by Cal Baptist. Now for the big kahuna matchup. Number 22 UCLA versus at San Diego State. And surprisingly, UCLA is the only Southern California team that is ranked in the top 25 preseason polls. UCLA came in at number 22, and San Diego State didn't give any craps about that because they were ready to go. And early on, it looked like UCLA was going to win, and then I checked the score, and I see San Diego State is up, and then I eventually see San Diego State continuing its dominance, and they just kept getting bucket after bucket, and their defense kept playing really well. So that was some good stuff right there, and eventually San Diego State pulls the first upset of 2020, beating UCLA 73-58, and yes, Larry B, UCLA lost. Go Aztecs. And yeah, that was a bad loss for the Bruins, but no one can say that. But I will say this: San Diego State has a legit program. San Diego State is friggin' good. Like, they're like the most underrated team. They're one of the more underrated teams, and they kind of get a bad rap because they play in the Mountain West Conference. But overall, I think San Diego State kind of put their name on the map. So, good stuff right there for San Diego State, as they were led by Jordan Shackle, who had 15 points. I feel that guy's name is... I feel Jordan Shackle, he is a Southern California product, but he sounds familiar. And Nathan Menza had 7 rebounds, while Trey Pullman had 6 assists. Jaime Hasquez had 17 points, while Cody Riley had 12 rebounds, and Tiger Campbell had 4 assists. I want to also say that UCLA had a couple of players sit out, but I will say this: I don't care. Nobody cares. Work harder. Next man up. I don't want to be mean to UCLA, but you have a reputation. There's a reason why UCLA is picked to win the Pac-12. We don't want to hear the excuses. Like, if you're not performing well now, then you might not be the Pac-12 champion. Just my take. Just my friendly little take. All right, so we didn't have any teams play this on on yesterday because there were no teams that played. Because no one wants to play on Thanksgiving, and no one cares. No one wants to play on Thanksgiving. So there's that. So as for today's NCAA men's basketball matchups regarding the SoCal schools, we had UCLA and Pepperdine go down to the wire. It took not one, not two, but 3 overtimes for a winner to be decided. And unfortunately for UCLA's haters, UCLA got the win. Unfortunately for UCLA's haters, UCLA got the win as UCLA won. I believe it was like 107 to 98. Either way, UCLA, it took 3 overtimes for UCLA to get the win, and they got it. And Pepperdine looks to be like one of the more under-the-radar teams. I didn't think they would actually push UCLA to 3 overtimes. Like, good God. Like, and Larry says they better win that game. Well, let's be nice. The West Coast Conference is somewhat decent. I mean, obviously it's been ran by Gonzaga, but we don't have to go there. I mean, you're not wrong, but you didn't have to say it. Like, good Lord. Anyway, so leading UCLA in the win was Chris Smith, who had 26 points, 8 of 17 for field goals. He also chipped in 12 rebounds, and Tiger Campbell had 7 assists, while Colby Ross had 33 points, 10 for 25 in terms of field goals, 10 for 12 from the foul line. He also chipped in 6 boards, and Cedric Altman had 6 assists. So, but still, I think that's a better win. That's still, it was 107-98, by the way. So, honestly, I think Pepperdine is kind of making its name well known. Like, they beat UC Irvine. Okay, that's not an over-the-top victory, but it's a good victory. They took care of business, and then they pushed UCLA to 3 overtimes. Again, maybe UCLA was missing a few of its players still, but we don't care. So, yeah. As Lamar Jackson once said, nobody cares, work harder. Alright, so the current games going on are Cal Poly beating Bethesda 41-24, while San Diego State is beating UC Irvine 44-28 in the second half, which is cool. Okay, I mean, so I have a soft spot for UC Irvine. I'm a Long Beach State guy, but honestly, I have somewhat of a soft spot for Russell Turner. One thing I don't... Now, before I continue about Russell Turner, I will say these are the thoughts and opinions of Teran Rodriguez and not the thoughts and opinions of any second or third party organization. So I will say this about Russell Turner. He kind of can be a little agitating. Like, he can be a bit of a jerk. Like, one of his not so memorable moments was a couple years ago when UC Irvine lost in the round of 32 to Oregon, and he tried to be a little, tried to use psychology quite nicely. He tried to heckle one of Oregon's best players, Lewis King, and then in his press conference, he said, "Well, I tried to get in the head of Lewis Queen, and we were telling the players to call him Queen," and he was referring to a piece on the chessboard, but everyone, I guess, took it the wrong way, and he was making fun of Lewis for maybe being a part of the LGBTQ community. Either way, that's kind of one of the reasons why Russell Turner can be somewhat of a jerk. But that's just me. Like, maybe it's because I've been around Dan Monson too much, but not really. I mean, some coaches can be a jerk, but I digress. Okay, so that's enough for the NCAA men's basketball games. I've been watching too much volleyball. Like, I gotta get my mind out of volleyball. So let's jump over to NCAA women's basketball games. I'm just gonna skim through these nice and quickly, as I know there were a few teams that played yesterday, as my thing isn't really loading up. USC beat Loyola Marymount 85-55, which I wasn't expecting it to be that much of a beatdown. I mean, yikes. UCLA and Cal State Fullerton got postponed because they were awaiting Fullerton's COVID-19 test, and then they were delayed and all that, and it was not fun times. They said they had to postpone it. It was supposed to be today, and I didn't get to see that game because I was too focused on UCLA and Pepperdine in terms of men's basketball, but I know I'm a jerk. I'm sorry. But either way, I'm just going to check it right now, and according to this, UCLA's dominating. Okay, but Cal Baptist also beat Fresno Pacific, I want to say their name was. It was some sort of NAIA school, and they won 90-39. Yikes. Cal Poly got stomped on by Stanford. Number 2 Stanford at that, so I can't really fault them for that, considering they are facing the number 2 team in the nation, so we'll be nice to them. And San Diego State lost to Washington 61-59, which made me sad face. Yeah. I guess, so it wasn't as good of a day in terms of NCAA women's basketball, but hey, at least USC got the win. Hopefully their program starts to turn around. I hope they can be competitive in the uber competitive Pac-12, because there's a lot of good schools in that conference, such as UCLA, Stanford. I think Oregon State's kind of up there too. Or I think Oregon's still good. Maybe Colorado. Maybe Cal too. Either way, I just want USC to have success in terms of women's basketball. Okay, so now let's pretty much move on from the NCAA basketball scene to the NCAA football scene. So last week's NCAA football games were quite thrilling, with the exception of one. So San Diego State was in the biggest pickle of the world, as they needed to beat Nevada. They need to beat Nevada and then run the table the rest of the way, and then hope that San Jose State lost along the way. Unfortunately for San Diego State, they kind of sputtered. They were doing well against Nevada in the first half, and then Nevada started to turn it on, and I saw this San Diego State-Nevada game. San Diego State's passing game really stinks. Like, I don't know, I think I heard that one of their quarterbacks got hurt, but their passing game was just so dreadful. Like, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It's like, what am I watching? I think on their first 5, 6, or 7 plays of the second half, they were going 3 and out. It's like, what? And then it's like, I'm like, what's going on here? It's like, why is San Diego State like laying the biggest egg ever? And they just couldn't get any points going, which is disappointing, because this was their biggest game of the year. San Diego State was up 21 to 16 at halftime. Then Nevada scored 10 points, and this was just all this offensive ineptitude where San Diego State just couldn't get any points. They couldn't like get down the field quick enough, and luckily for San Diego State, late in the game, they managed to get a late interception, and I'm like, oh my god, this might be the break that San Diego State needs. And they eventually got to, like, I think the 4-yard line, and unfortunately they turned it over on downs because their run game wasn't working they couldn't really run the ball. Like, they had to throw the ball, and like I said, their throw game is really bad, or the passing game is bad, so Nevada got the win over San Diego State 26-21. This should have been a win for San Diego State. Like, you cannot. This is what happens when you bank on one game and eventually steer away from the other. Like, you can get away with that against teams like Utah State, UNLV, and maybe Hawaii, but against teams like San Jose State and Nevada, it's not going to fly. And all those people that picked San Diego State to win the Mountain West Conference Western Division, is probably kicking themselves. I mean, they should be kicking themselves, because Nevada's having a good year, San Jose State is having a good year. Like, San Jose State was picked second to last to finish in the Mountain West Conference Western Division, and look at San Jose State is debatedly the best team in California. I say debatedly loosely because if it weren't for COVID, they'd be playing USC this year, and we all know how that might have turned out. So, anyway, San Diego State lost. I was so disappointed. This week they were supposed to play Fresno State, but that game got canceled. We'll be talking about who their opponent is in a little bit. So even if San Diego State runs the table, they can't win the Mountain Western Division. The only way they can win the Mountain Western Division is if San Jose State has to opt out the rest of the season, as well as Nevada. So there you go. But anyway, San Diego State will be playing Colorado this weekend. Yes, Colorado, not Colorado State. I'll be talking about that in a little bit, but yeah, San Diego State really made me sad. And I was like, my eyes hurt after seeing... I had to wash my eyes after seeing San Diego State just not being able to produce any points in the second half. I'm like, my God. Okay, so now let's move on to UCLA. UCLA had themselves quite the interesting scenario. They were without Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who apparently was in contact with someone who had COVID, but he didn't have COVID, according to his Twitter account. Then apparently he tweeted that out while he was from Paris, France, which that didn't make sense anymore. But then we all found out that Dorian Thompson-Robinson, the quarterback of UCLA, was at home and he wasn't able to play quarterback. So UCLA turned to the freshman phenom, well, not really phenom, but they turned to Chase Griffin, the freshman. So, and he actually held his own quite nicely. UCLA led 21-17 almost going into halftime until Griffin threw an interception, which was returned for a pick six. And then it was just UCLA just basically had to play catch up the whole game. Every time UCLA got close, Oregon distanced them from the Bruins, and then vice versa until UCLA's final drive, and they had one timeout remaining, and they had a fourth down scenario, and I think there was this little debate on where if UCLA got the first down or not because of some play. But either way, I was surprised Chip Kelly didn't use the timeout to drop a play, get them 10 yards, and then maybe kick the game-winning field goal. But instead, they decided to just... I think they got they were short 5 yards or so, and they needed to go for it on fourth down, and then they didn't shoot. They chose not to take the timeout, and then they didn't get the fourth down, and Oregon won because they're Oregon and they were supposed to win. But hey, at least I said that UCLA was going to cover the spread. But I was kind of impressed by UCLA. Even though they lost, they pushed Oregon to the limit, which is good. I'll give them a nice little 2 clap. But other than that, UCLA unfortunately fell short. But Chase Griffin kind of held his own for the most part. So next up on UCLA schedule, they play Arizona at home. Arizona has yet to get a win. And whether UCLA has DTR or not, I can see UCLA winning that game. The only way UCLA doesn't win against Arizona is if they underestimate Arizona, which that would be so Chip Kelly. So, yeah. So that's UCLA, and that's that in a nutshell. So let's go to the final Southern California team that played this weekend. USC at Utah. Utah was playing in its season debut while USC was playing its third game of the season. And they were coming off of a dramatic win over Arizona. I can't believe I have to utter those words. Dramatic and win should not be used in the same sentence unless Arizona's friggin' good. But anyway, this game was quite fascinating. There were so many turnovers by both teams' defenses. There were picks all over interceptions all over the place. There were fumbles. Keaton Slovis had a fumble and an interception, but he played okay for the most part. Utah, who was replacing practically its entire team because their entire team was graduated to study Among Us and Fortnite, eventually had some new players play, and they eventually had 2 quarterbacks. The first one was some dude named Cameron Rising, the sophomore from Ventura. He unfortunately got knocked out of the game because he fumbled, I think it was well deep into USC territory, and then I think one of the USC defenders got him with his knee or his foot, and then he got knocked out the rest of the game. So in came the senior quarterback, Jake Bentley, who is from Lexington. That's cool. So yeah, it was a close game early on between USC and Utah. The first quarter featured just field goals, and then the second quarter, Veve Malepeai had a rushing touchdown. Now, let me tell you about USC's running game. You're wondering where's Stephen Carr and where is Marquis Stepp. Marquis Stepp, I think, had a foot injury, and then Stephen Carr was injured as well. So we have those two to deal with in terms of injuries, in terms of the running game. I was so PO'd when I heard about the news. I'm like, you're kidding me. USC is now battling injuries? Good grief. It's like, leave the injuries to the Chargers, USC. Okay. But other than that, Nafis Sewell had a fumble return touchdown because Keaton Slovis forgot to look both ways before throwing the ball. But then Tyler Vaughns had a receiving touchdown, and then Eric Kromenhoek, who is the tight end for USC, had receiving touchdowns. And then suddenly USC was up 24-10, and then Utah got a late touchdown pass from Samson Nakua, and eventually USC led 24-17, and then everyone was doubting that USC was going to win this game. I was a little concerned. I'm like, please. I'm like, this is going to be another one-score game, isn't it? It's going to be another one-score game. And then as the game progressed, the cameras went off. Like, this game was being played on ESPN, and then the cameras malfunctioned, and then we got to see this weird little thing, and yeah. That's what Pac-12 After Dark does. So anyway, long story short for Utah in the second half, they got shut out. USC's defense was amazing in this whole game. Like, it's the second half especially where they just made Jake Bentley so uncomfortable. I mean, granted he was playing in his first game this year, but we don't care. Like, Keaton Slovis had to face Utah when they were, the number 10th ranked team in the nation, and he didn't give any craps on how he was thrown to the Wolves. So Jake Bentley shouldn't either. So eventually USC got to test out their new kicker, Parker Lewis, which I feel bad for Chase McGrath. I don't know what's happened to him. Like, I hope he doesn't transfer because I like Chase McGrath. He's a cool modern day guy. I hope he becomes an NFL kicker. If he doesn't, I'm going to cry. I will literally cry on air if Chase McGrath is not playing in the NFL. But anyway, this Parker Lewis kid is actually pretty good. He's a good kicker, and he made 47-yard field goals, and eventually USC just pelted Utah with field goals and won 33-17. So that was actually quite the statement win for USC, because every time they play at Utah, it's a house of horrors for them. But they managed to get the win, and I was happy. And the best part for USC was that that was their last away game, because now the rest of the way, USC doesn't have to travel. And yes, I said last away game because they'll still be playing. Because even though they're playing at the Rose Bowl, I still consider that USC's second home. Don't kill me, UCLA fans. But anyway, yeah, USC is 3-0, and they are ranked number 18 in the college football playoff, which was awesome. They are the only Southern California team to be ranked by the college football playoff committee. Their only problem is they have no game. Why? Because of a pair of COVID outbreaks that happened. Because one unnamed player tested positive for COVID-19, and then eventually that became two, which eventually came 3, which made me sad face. And then yesterday, the Pac-12 announced that USC Colorado has been canceled, and I was so sad. I really could not. I really was just down in the dumps. I was like, no! I was looking forward to USC Colorado. That was supposed to be the game that decided the Pac-12 South. Okay, so now USC has the week off, and I've also been getting word that next week's game for USC could be in jeopardy because, according to the Los Angeles County guidelines, they have to be in quarantine for like 14 days, which really sucks. I hope that is not the case. If I really don't want to see USC cancel another game, because their next game is next Friday, and it's against Washington State, and it's a Friday game. So I would just hate to see USC have to forego playing in the Pac-12 Conference Championship, because they were doing such a great job in terms of COVID, in terms of not getting COVID, and then unfortunately one or two players, one, then eventually two, and then three players got COVID, and then unfortunately the Pac-12 room deemed them ineligible because they didn't have enough they didn't have enough players at a certain position. They didn't have enough scholarship players at a certain position, which really made me sad. It's like, that's the reason? Sign me up. I will play whatever offensive line or whatever. Like, get Clay Helton on the phone. I will fill in for those players. Like, just hold tryouts, Clay. But anyway, I was sad that USC canceled the game. So we won't be talking a whole lot about USC football, but I will talk about San Diego State's next opponent. It is against Colorado, which is fun because that was supposed to be USC's opponent, and they couldn't. And then San Diego State couldn't play Fresno State. It's a match made in heaven. Derp. But anyway, San Diego State plays Colorado, which is cool. So here's the thing about San Diego State. They are 0-2 against teams that have 0 losses. It's a stupid stat, but I will say this. I think Colorado can be beaten. Colorado is a 3-point favorite according to ESPN, but I think San Diego State can beat them. Colorado's 2 wins have been by have both been by 1 score. So they've basically taken the Chargers route. And Colorado beat UCLA by 6, and then they beat Stanford by 3, which is cool, I guess. Thing about San Diego State is, if they don't have a passing game, they will get smoked by the Buffs. It would be quite something to see the Aztecs pull off the win. I think everyone would want to see Colorado lose, because all the some Colorado fans were saying, "Oh, hey, Davidson Crooks, how you doing?" Shout out to you for joining us in the chat room. But some Colorado fans on Twitter were saying, "Oh, USC would have lost to Colorado." How could you say that when Colorado has never beaten USC in college football? You cannot say Colorado would have beaten USC when your team has not beaten USC in its team history. You have the audacity to say that. The nerve of you, my friend. Somebody get... I'm sorry if I have to steal that from Marcus, but the nerve of you for saying that. You cannot say things like that, especially when your team has won their games by a combined 9 points against Stanford, who barely eked out a win over Cal, and then UCLA, who is still young at heart and has probably Chip Kelly as their coach. You cannot just say you would have beaten USC. It's like, I hope San Diego State... Part of me really wants to see San Diego State win. And this kind of leads me to a question. If USC and Colorado win out the rest of the way, what happens with the tiebreaker? Oh, and by the way, we also need to say this. I also need to bring up this. Colorado had their game canceled against Arizona. Well, it wasn't not Arizona, Arizona State, but it wasn't Colorado's fault. Either way, why didn't you get a game last week? Tell me. Anyway, so if USC and Colorado run the table, what happens in terms of tiebreakers? Let's say the Washington State game gets canceled. What happens if Colorado goes undefeated and then USC goes undefeated? What happens in terms of tiebreaker? One person said that the San Diego State game might be the tiebreaker for Colorado, and then one other person on Twitter told me that the team that has the higher ranking in terms of the college football playoff rankings gets to play in the Pac-12 championship. I kind of find that a little far-fetched, but the second one kind of makes more sense because basically USC needs to be rooting for San Diego State, which, again, that's Mountain West versus Pac-12. I mean, San Diego State has beaten a Pac-12 team before in UCLA, but can they beat Colorado at Colorado? Maybe all those games against Colorado State will have paid off, but I don't know. I'm going to go out on a limb and say, I'm going to say San Diego State pulls out the victory. And then I say they win. It's a good score. Colorado's a 3-point favorite. I say San Diego State wins 27-24. Like, I know it's me being a SoCal homer, but I want to see San Diego State pull out the victory. Like, it would be quite funny, because I honestly think that USC would beat San Diego State. I would have liked to see USC and Colorado face one another, and have USC expose Colorado for who they truly are. Because if USC could beat Utah at Utah, I definitely think they could beat a Colorado team who has 2 one-score wins and whose wins are combined 9 points. I'm not doubting San Diego State, but I think it'll be a tight one, especially if San Diego State's passing game is about as the same as when they played against Nevada. Pretty much. But I'm taking San Diego State to win. I think San Diego State shocks the world, and then everyone laughs at Colorado, and then USC dances into the night, and then eventually gets to play in the Pac-12 championship. Maybe. Like, again, it all depends on what's going to happen with the Pac-12. Like, maybe Colorado will find some way to lose out, and we will all laugh at Colorado some more because Colorado lost. And let me see their schedule. Yeah, Colorado has Arizona and Utah. They're at Arizona next week, and then the following week they are home against Utah. I think Utah has a better chance I think Utah has a good chance at beating Colorado. And Davidson Crook says maybe in terms of San Diego State beating Colorado. I think it can happen. Again, I'm being a homer, but I would like to see San Diego State win. So as for UCLA, Arizona, I don't see UCLA losing. Like, the only reason why USC had a tough time beating Arizona is because they underestimated USC underestimated Arizona, and they kept blowing it in the red zone. And they could have won by a whole lot more. So I'm going to say UCLA wins 38-28 against Arizona. Like, you got to win by 10 points. Like, if you could beat Cal by 10 plus, and you could come close to beating Colorado and Oregon, the Oregon loss was pretty impressive as well. You can definitely beat Arizona. If you lose to Arizona, we will all be laughing at you. Don't disappoint us, UCLA, because you might have to be our only hope in terms of college football in Southern California getting a dub. Okay, so there's that for college football. Now let's head to the NBA, or not NBA, the NFL, and then we'll head to a commercial break. So last week's games, let's start with the Chargers. Oh, God. This was another bleh game by the Chargers. The Chargers did win, and Justin Herbert had himself another great game, but it was another close game that I couldn't believe the Chargers had to go down to the wire with the Jets of all teams, the winless Jets. But then again, the Chargers did lose to the then 0-14 Cleveland Browns, which eventually got Mike McCoy fired, and that was fun times. But Larry says lol Chargers. Oh yeah, whatever. I won't. Yeah, whatever. So, but either way, the Chargers did win. Something that really opened my eyes was that Anthony Lynn made the smartest play in the world near the end of the game. He had the option to either to punt the ball, which would have been the wisest choice. There was like 8 seconds to go, and then he ordered his punter, Ty Long, to take the ball and go into the end zone, then get pushed out of bounds for a safety, which eventually left 1 second, but then he had Ty Long boot a long kickoff, and then eventually the Chargers won, which, again, the fact that they only won by 6 is kind of concerning, but the Jets are okay. Like, Joe Flacco is still an elite QB. I mean, he's not as good as he was back in Baltimore, but he's still a pretty good QB. But the fact that the Chargers made players like Chris Herndon, a tight end who hasn't been relevant since maybe last year or the year before, and then they also made Frank Gore look like Marshawn Lynch, and then they had the emergence of Brashad Perriman, who eventually apparently survived when he was in Tampa Bay, so the Chargers defense has been ravaged. The good news is for the Chargers defense, they got Chris Harris Jr. back, which is awesome. The bad news is Melvin Ingram's back on IR, which is not awesome, because that might be the end to this season, because if he's on IR, he automatically misses 3 games. And this is a contract year for Melvin Ingram, too, so this kind of makes me wonder, is this the end of Melvin Ingram? It's just food for thought on my part, so I hope the Chargers can ink him a nice deal, but if it is the end, then we'll miss him. The poor guy has had knee injuries. He hasn't had a sack in the past 6 games. And like I said, he landed on IR, which didn't help him not getting a sack this year. So either way, it could be time to part ways with Melvin Ingram, but we'll see. Again, that's a question for the offseason. So the Chargers' next game is Sunday at Buffalo. They're facing, unlike the past few years where the Chargers have played Buffalo, where Buffalo was a walking laughing stock, Buffalo is actually pretty good. So here's the thing about Buffalo. They're a very talented team. Josh Allen is a friggin' monster. And he has great players such as Stephon Diggs and Cole Beasley in terms of receivers. John Brown will not be playing because he is injured for the 100th billionth time. I said 100th billionth. But they also have a good running game, too. And Josh Allen can run the ball well. Like, the Chargers struggle against quarterbacks that can run the ball, such as Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. So either way, it's going to be a difficult game, to say the least. The good news is, it's not going to be cold, but I did hear that there will be winds that are 10 to 20 miles per hour. Yikes. And the Chargers already have kicking woes, so oh geez, that's going to be fun. But hey, the good thing about cold weather is that the Chargers have one player that has proven he could play in cold weather. Justin Herbert, who continues to have a stellar year, and this dude is more than likely going to be Rookie of the Year. Like, if he's not Rookie of the Year, I will be sad face, and yeah. Here's the thing about Justin Herbert. He is 6 touchdown passes away from breaking the rookie passing record. And the best part for Herbert is he has a whopping 6 games remaining. So he can get 1 touchdown in each game. But I think he can do it in sooner time. I just hope Justin Herbert can make it through, because unfortunately Justin Herbert's classmate, Joe Burrow, sadly is out for the year. And I send my condolences to Joe Burrow. Like, he's such a great guy, and the fact that the Bengals O-line just couldn't protect him is very saddening. So I wish Joe Burrow the best. I hope he comes back stronger next year and gets comeback player of the year. That would be super awesome, saucy, saucy. I don't know why I said saucy, saucy. I'm just having fun. So, in addition to that, Justin Herbert is on pace to having 397 completions as a rookie, and he's also on pace to having 4,498 passing yards and 37 passing touchdowns, which are all rookie records. And he's also on pace to having a great rookie passer rating. Justin Herbert's current passing rating is 104.7, and the record in terms of rookie passing rating is 104.9, which was held by Dak Prescott. So Justin Herbert has a chance to make history and join some elite company. The problem is for the Chargers that most of their schedule gets very tough. Like, we have the Bills, the Chargers have the Bills this week, then they have the Patriots next week, and then they also have the Falcons might not be as tough, and the Broncos might be a revenge game possibility for the Chargers, and maybe they could play spoiler to the Raiders, but it's going to get tough for the Chargers going forward now. So, and while the Bills' defense isn't as good as most people advertise, it's still pretty stingy. So, we'll see if the Chargers can pull an upset. But another good thing about Justin Herbert is that he was named the Rookie of the Week for the 7th time this season, and he was also named the FedEx Air Player of the Week, which was also awesome. So Justin Herbert's definitely done a great job this year, and I really see a bright future for him. I just hope that Dean Spanos can give him a good offensive line, some better weapons, and a coach that is very knowledgeable. Not that I'm saying that Anthony Lynn's a bad coach. He's a great guy and all, but I think he's more of a running backs coach. Like, maybe keep Anthony Lynn, but not as a head coach. Just some food for thought on my part. So yeah. So that's it. So that's my little spiel for the Chargers. Then we have the LA Rams. Ooh, the LA Rams. That win over Tampa Bay was amazing. I knew that I knew that the Rams were going to win. I knew they were also going to win by a field goal. I had them winning 31-28, but they won 27-24. I was close enough. But Matt Gay, the former Tampa Bay kicker, kicked the go-ahead field goal for the Rams, and eventually the Rams won. And now they're tied for first place in the NFC West, which is really nice. And they're tied, but the Rams at the moment have the tiebreaker over the Seattle Seahawks, which is cool and all. And while the Rams defense didn't play great, they played well enough. Like, they got 2 picks on Tom Brady. I believe it was Leonard Floyd who got the interceptions, if I'm not mistaken. Either way, it was still quite the phenomenal. It was a beautiful thing to see if you're a Rams fan. So good stuff right there. And it was Jordan Fuller, the rookie. So not Leonard Floyd, Jordan Fuller who got the interception. So that was good and all. So great stuff for the Rams defense, and they're shaping up to be quite the elite defense. I don't think they're the most unstoppable defense, but they're kind of up there. So the Rams take their 7-3 record back home as they will play the San Francisco 49ers this week. The 49ers are in the same boat the Chargers have, as they have been hampered by injuries. Like, Jimmy Garoppolo is injured, Nick Bosa's out, George Kittle's out. I do hear that the 49ers are going to get some players back from injured reserve. I want to say it was Richard Sherman, I want to say. But either way, Debo Samuel and Trent Williams as well. So either way, it's going to be pretty. The 49ers will still be ready to play. And honestly, I think this is a huge trap game for the Rams because one could say the 49ers are going to be an easy matchup for the Rams, but we also got to remember the Rams struggled the first time against the 49ers. However, Jimmy Garoppolo was the quarterback. And believe it or not, Jimmy Garoppolo has not lost to the Rams as the 49ers quarterback, which is quite astounding. So Nick Mullins will get the start at QB, and I can see the Rams winning this game, but it won't be easy. They're not going to just cruise into SoFi and say, "Oh, this will be easy." No, they need to actually get stops. Like they had 0 sacks on the quarterback last time these two teams played, and that's disappointing when you have like Leonard Floyd and Aaron Donald. And while Jared Goff wasn't his worst, he wasn't at his best. Like he could have done so much better. I think he only had a 50% passing percentage. So that was yeah. So to me, I think this is an important game for the Rams. They can't have a big head though. Like the last thing they need is to get ahead of themselves in terms of winning the NFC West. And this is because next week the Rams have a tough matchup, a much tougher matchup against the Cardinals, which the Cardinals to me have been the most improved team. And other than like maybe the Patriots and the Jets, the schedule does gets tougher for the Rams. So the Rams have definitely been doing a great job this year, but this week they got to be on their A game against the 49ers. Like I don't know any way to say it except the Rams need to play a full 4 quarters. Like they obviously did a good job of that against Tampa Bay, but that was because Tom Brady can't throw deep passes, which is disappointing. Which I kind of thought he had a couple deep passes against the Chargers, and also Tampa Bay's wins have been a little flimsy. Like except for maybe the Chargers. That one they had to earn it because, but then again the Chargers kind of hand fed that to them. So either way, I'm not trying to take the Rams win over Tampa Bay away from them. I'm just saying that the Rams now just need to like have a good game plan and not allow themselves to get down early on to the point where they're having to play catch up the whole game. So we'll see how it goes for the Rams. Now it's prediction time for both the Rams and the Chargers. So the Rams game, it's kind of an obvious one. It's kind of an obvious pick. I obviously got to go the Rams over the 49ers. The Rams will continue their hot streak, and they will make sure they don't look ahead to Arizona. Because if they look ahead to Arizona, they are all but sunk in this matchup. But I have the Rams winning 31 to... Let's say 31-21. Like, they win off of a go-ahead field goal from Matt Gay, and he becomes Special Teams Player of the Week because he's awesome. Or on the NFC side of things. So there we go. And that's my prediction. 31-21 in favor of the Rams. Now let's go to the Chargers and the Bills. So the Chargers have a little bit of a playoff hope. Honestly, it's a small, but it's still some sort of glimmer of a playoff hope. The Bills are definitely a good team, but they've been off and on sometimes. Like they went from being an early contender to losing to the Titans, and then losing off of a Hail Murray to the Cardinals. So it's tough to really say about Buffalo because sometimes they're a possible Super Bowl contender, and then sometimes they're just like there. And the Bills kind of need this game in order to keep pace over the Dolphins. And looking at the Bills' wins, they have wins over they have a win over the Rams and the Raiders, which are both playoff teams. And then they also have a win over the Seahawks, but the Seahawks have no defense, and Russell Wilson had arguably the worst game of his career. So it's kind of tough to pick, and I can't believe I have to do this, but I'm actually picking the Chargers to win. It's crazy, and I have said that the Bills are going to beat the Chargers, but I think the Chargers may catch the Bills on a not so good day. And I see how the Chargers are going to win. They're going to win off of the Bills kicker missing wide right because of those 10 to 20 mile per hour winds. It's crazy, but that's kind of my thing. I have the Chargers winning 20. Let's go 27-24. It's crazy, I know, but I think the Chargers have a chance. They've been competitive in practically every game. They have not had one game where they've been blown out. The only bad game they've played was against Miami, where the Dolphins just pretty much bombarded them defensively, and they just pelted them because of Tua Tagovailoa, who got benched. But I'm kidding. I won't say haha to Tua. Tua's a great guy. I love that man. But I got the Chargers winning 27-24. I think the special teams gods smile on the Chargers despite 10 to 20 mile per hour winds. So we'll see. And hopefully Herbert does put on a show. Like, again, Herbert is used to playing in cold weather because he played at Oregon. The dude played in snow. He played in rain. I think he is built for cold NFL games. I just hope his offensive line is able to protect him at all costs. So we'll see how it goes for him. But that's going to do it for the NFL portion of the show. Let's actually take ourselves a quick little commercial break. When we come back, we're going to be discussing some NBA action between the Lakers and the Clippers and their preseason schedules that just were released. So you're listening to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's going on, football fans? This is me, your boy Larry B, inviting you to join myself, Colin Reynolds, Mike Pat, and John Felipe for one of the most electrifying football shows you have ever heard. 3 and Out, right here at IE Sports Radio. Recap of the week before, a preview of what's to come, and of course, 3 hardcore head-to-head primetime face-offs each week. You don't want to miss it.
And we are back with segment 2 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. You could check out all of our amazing shows on IE Sports Radio, such as 3 and Out, hosted by the man, the myth, the legend, Larry B. And Let's Whine About Sports, hosted by Mike Pat. And you could also check out some of our other shows, such as Fast Break, hosted by Davidson Crooks and Darius Luck, who do a great job of hosting that show. They are amazing people, and they never cease to amaze. So, yeah. So, now let's get on to segment 2. I said I was going to talk about the NBA, but I actually forgot all about the MLS action. LAFC. So, LAFC had the daunting task of going to Seattle and playing the Sounders in the first round of the MLS playoffs. And to everyone's dismay, they started off flat-footed as they allowed 1 goal in the first half and trailed 1-0 going into the second half, which it wasn't bad. Like, I knew they could come back, but it was going to be tough. It got even tougher when they allowed a second goal in the second half. I think it was around the 60-ish minute mark, and then they found themselves down 2-0, which apparently is the worst lead in soccer. Like, I still don't get that. Like, the worst lead in hockey is 3-0, but the worst lead in soccer is 2-0. Like, I don't know, man. It's just food for thought on my part. So, I'm just asking some questions, y'all. So LAFC manages to get on the board thanks to Edward Atuesta, who scored in the 77th minute, and then it was 2-1 in favor of Seattle. And then it looked like LAFC was going to make the comeback, and then we were about to start Club Dub, baby. And then Seattle decided to put an end to Club Dub thanks to Jordan Morris, who scored in the 80th minute. So he scored 3 minutes after Atuesta scored it, making the score 3-1. LAFC actually did get a goal in like the 88th minute thanks to Bradley Wright Phillips. Unfortunately, that goal was waved off because of offsides, and it's like, really? And then eventually LAFC lost 3-1, meaning they are out of the playoffs in the first round. And Seattle once again beats LAFC for like the 100th time in the postseason, which means LAFC is basically prone to losing to Seattle. So LAFC is unfortunately out of the postseason. We gotta give them their proper send-off. Game over, yeah! Wait. One more time. Game over, yeah! Yes, unfortunately, game over, yeah, for LAFC. Meaning that ends the MLS talk. I can't really be ultimately mean to them, considering the Galaxy didn't even make the playoffs, but still, LAFC still has not won an MLS championship, which makes me sad face. It's like, come on, man. So, yeah. I will say this about LAFC. They did not have Diego Rossi, and they didn't have Diego Palacios, and Jose Cifuentes, and Brian Rodriguez, which all tested positive for COVID-19 during the international duty in South America. Come on now, like, it's the biggest game of the season for LAFC, and you all decided to test positive? Come on now. Come on, man. Dang. It sucks because I thought that LAFC was going to pull the upset, but they didn't because they're LAFC and they just couldn't do it. So, yeah. Derp. I gotta stop saying dirt, but LAFC loses in the first round to Seattle. I thought it was at least gonna go penalty kicks or at least maybe be decided in extra time, but it just wasn't. So it sucks, but you gotta live and learn. So we'll see what LAFC and the LA Galaxy have going forward. And I do want to give a little rest in peace to a very talented soccer player by the name of Diego Maradona, which unfortunately passed away on Tuesday, so it sucks, but he's up there in heaven having himself a great soccer game, so you will be missed, Diego. So we send you our best. Thank you. Alright, so that's pretty much it for MLS talk. I pretty much won't be touching upon the MLS until maybe next year, or I think LAFC has some sort of weird crossover play. I'm not sure. Either way, I won't be hearing too much about soccer talk unless it's something important. Which if you're looking for a soccer show that you want to listen into, definitely check out the Soccer Scoreboard Show every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, hosted by Andrew Hagenbaugh, who is also the host of the State of Ohio Sports Show, which comes on 2 hours before this show. So definitely tune into both shows, as Andrew does a great job with his shows. So awesome. So now let's get into some NBA action, where the Lakers. I obviously talked about them acquiring Dennis Schroeder, but last Friday I failed to mention, and I didn't see this until after my show, that the Lakers also signed Montrezl Harrell, which was a huge signing. I was so mind blown at that. And they also signed Wes Matthews II. And Wes Matthews the first actually played and won an NBA championship with the Lakers. So that was awesome. So the fact that the Lakers got Wes Matthews and Montrezl Harrell and Dennis Schroeder is really awesome. Now all the Lakers need to do is re-sign Anthony Davis, and then poof, the Lakers have themselves a very good lineup, because LeBron, I think, is with the Lakers for another year or so, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, the Lakers are shaping up to being a good contender. Now, as for the Clippers have had themselves quite the offseason as well. Obviously, losing Montrezl Harrell, the sixth man of the year, was tough, which sucks. And too bad for them. I'm just kidding. But they did sign Serge Ibaka to a 4-year deal, and that was pretty big on their part. They signed Serge Ibaka, and he came from the Raptors. And everyone is saying, "Oh, they got Serge Ibaka. He won a championship ring with Kawhi Leonard and the Raptors. They're gonna come back." Until they get out of the second round and they manage to beat the Lakers, I don't want to hear any talk of this whole championship thing. Us Laker fans want to see the Clippers actually make it to the conference finals and them make it to the NBA finals. Everyone was hyping up the Clippers, saying, "Oh, they're so much deeper than the Lakers, and they're loaded at every position." Child, please. They're still the Clippers, so unfortunately we can't. Unfortunately, those talks did not age well. One thing I also kind of wonder is, I also did hear murmurs that the Clippers might be trying to deal Lou Williams, which kind of doesn't make any sense because Lou Williams is a talented player. I don't understand why they would want to deal Lou Williams. He's their sixth. He's one of their sixth men. He's their past sixth man of the year. but it would make no sense to deal him. And just like how it wouldn't make too much more sense to deal Paul George, because the Clippers had to trade a lot. That's right, a lot for Paul George. And if they trade Paul George now, that'll make the Paul George trade, that'll make the Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett trade to the Brooklyn Nets look like nothing. So that's just me. Like I don't know why they would trade Lou Williams. Like maybe they keep him, maybe they don't. Like depends on who they get out of Lou Williams. So we'll see if Serge Ibaka can make a difference along with the Clippers. Oh, and the Clippers also re-signed Patrick Patterson, which is cool. And then they also re-signed Marcus Morris Sr. So that's pretty cool. I am happy. And then they also signed their pick, Jay Scrubb, who is not a scrub. He is actually the NABC NJCAA Player of the Year back in 2020. And he is an NJCAA D1 All-American in terms of in 2019 and 2020, which is really cool. And then they also signed this other person who went to Minnesota. Brian Greenlee, I think his name was. I'm not sure. Either way, the Clippers are starting to load up. His name is Oturu. Daniel Oturu. So that's cool. So that's the Clippers signing. So let's go to the Lakers. I did see that the Lakers did re-sign Markieff Morris, who is the brother of Marcus Morris, and that's kind of big right there. And I really was happy that they re-signed Markieff Morris, because Markieff was kind of impressive in the postseason. Everyone was saying, "Oh, the Lakers got the worst of the two Morris brothers. They're not going to do well. Clippers are going to be deep." No. That is not true. Markieff Morris is just as good. What happened with the Clippers in the series against Denver? They collapsed. I don't want to hear any more of this Lakers slander until the Lakers give up their crown, which they're probably not going to. I'm just saying. So yeah, the Lakers re-signed Markieff Morris, which is awesome. They also signed Marc Gasol, the brother of Pau Gasol, which originally was drafted by the Lakers. Then he got traded for Pau, and then Marc Gasol bounced his way around the league, and he eventually won a championship ring with the Raptors, and now he's with the Lakers, which is awesome. And the Lakers now have a good big man after they lost Dwight Howard to free agency, which makes me sad face. They also lost Rondo to free agency as well, and they lost JaVale McGee, but they had to trade JaVale McGee to the Cleveland Cavaliers for cash consideration. So yeah. So other than Marc Gasol, the Lakers also got Alfonso McKinney from the Cleveland Cavaliers in the cash considerations trade, which is pretty cool. And then, like I said, they re-signed Markieff Morris, and then they just recently signed Montrezl Harrell, and then they also re-signed Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and to another deal. So that's actually pretty good that they signed Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. I think it was for quite a good, I think it was like 2 years, but it was for quite a bit of money, so I don't know about re-signing Caldwell-Pope to that much money, but he did kind of make a difference maker for the Lakers. Like, he was kind of a good spark. Like, he went from almost being ran out of Los Angeles to being a difference maker for the Lakers. So, if he could continue this, then he might actually be a key factor for the Lakers again. And like I said, they re-signed Wesley Matthews. I want to say that is it. And, by the way, they also re-signed Kostas Antetokounmpo, which I don't know why they decided to bring him back. I guess it's good, but maybe it's to possibly lure Giannis to the Lakers. I don't know, man, but that would be quite funny if the Lakers got both Antetokounmpo brothers on the team. I will say this about Kostas. He has a championship ring, but Giannis doesn't. Food for thought. Oh, and by the way, the Lakers did also lose Avery Bradley to free agency. They lost him, unfortunately, to the Miami Heat, which was the team that lost to the Lakers. So yeah, that sucks that the Lakers lost Avery Bradley, because he was a good on-ball defender, and I would have liked to have seen him back with the Lakers for another year, but unfortunately, it wasn't the case, and he went to another team. But hey, he went to a decent team. It's not like he went to the New York Knicks and whatnot. But yeah, I think that's... No. I forgot all about the NBA preseason. So, the NBA preseason schedule just came out. I'll talk about the NBA preseason schedule, then I'll send you all on your way because reasons. It's past dinner time. So, the Lakers open up their preseason against the Los Angeles Clippers. They play the Clippers on December the 11th and December 13th, which is cool. But everyone's going to probably make a huge deal of that, and then if the Clippers manage to win, all the Clippers fans are going to come out of hiding and say, "Oh my God, we beat the Lakers in preseason, we're going to win the NBA championship, ha 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 ha, Lakers are going to go a step backwards this year." No. Preseason doesn't matter, Summer League doesn't matter, the draft doesn't matter, none of that matters except for the postseason. If you can't make it out of the second round, I want you and your Clipper buddies to talk. Please. Anyway, so the Lakers also play the Phoenix Suns at Phoenix on December 16th and December 18th, which closes out NBA preseason play. So the fact that the Lakers are getting two division opponents is kind of wondering on my part. Like, it's good, though, because the Phoenix Suns are also loading, too, and I think they can make a big splash in the NBA next year. We'll see, though. It's just some food for thought on my part, so we'll have to see because reasons. And the Lakers are under a lot of pressure, so now let's go to the Clippers and their preseason schedule. Apparently, they're only getting 3 preseason games, as they get the Lakers on December 11th and December 13th, and they also get the Utah Jazz on December 17th at home. So I guess that's cool, but why don't they get 2 games? Why do the Lakers get 4 preseason games and the Clippers get 3? That's weird. I don't know. Food for thought. Big trusts. Woo woo. Again, I'm just being silly, but the fact of the matter is, I guess that's cool. The Clippers get to play the Jazz, which would have been an opponent had the Jazz not blown a 3-1 lead. But I think that'll be fun because the Jazz are also a pretty solid team as well. So we shall see. So, I think that's pretty much gonna do it for the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Other than that, I think we've covered everything. I covered NCAA basketball, I covered NCAA football, I covered the NBA. I didn't hear any WNBA talk. I covered MLS, I covered NFL. I think I got my bases loaded, and I'm not talking about baseball, which there wasn't any baseball news. But I think that's pretty much going to do it for today's show, and thank you all for tuning in. And I'm still bummed that the USC football game got canceled. It's going to be ruled no contest, but hopefully that doesn't hurt USC going forward too much. It may hurt them in terms of maybe getting a college football playoff spot, but we'll see. And then Justin Herbert is still a stud as always, and I think he can actually get to those milestones. Like, I actually want to see what are his statistics right now, if the NFL app is going to allow me to look at it. Justin Herbert currently has 2,699 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he's got 238 completions. And the rookie records, according to JPA Sports, are, in terms of rookies, are 397 completions, 4,498 passing yards, and then 37 passing touchdowns. I think you get the passing touchdowns one. Like, if he's got 6 games to go, I could see him putting up 3 touchdowns on, like, maybe the Raiders, Broncos, and then the the Falcons, maybe the Chiefs as well. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm not gonna look too far ahead, but who knows? Like, I hope Justin Herbert can break those records. I just hope he can make it to the end of the season, because the Chargers O-line is no better than the Bengals is. So we'll see. And again, I know the Chargers are pretty much have a grim playoff hope, but it's still something. But that's pretty much going to do it for the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. There's no point of rambling on about that. Thank you all for tuning in. Shout out to the Larry B and Davidson Crooks for joining me in the chat room. I appreciate you keeping me company, and I appreciate everyone listening live, and I appreciate everyone listening on the replay. It really means a lot, and thank you all for supporting IE Sports Radio and for supporting the show. I am thankful for everyone and their support, especially for all my family and friends and everyone in IE Sports Radio. I'm thankful for as well, because without them, I don't know if the SoCal Supreme Sports Show would be anything. So, yeah, I'm thankful for my IE Sports Radio family, because at the end of the day, we all have the same goal in terms of creating great content and getting our names out there. So, without any further delay, it's time to get on out of here, because it is dinner time, and it's almost 6:30 from where I'm at. So, yeah. Thank you all for tuning in to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. We're going to keep this train going until it can't go no more. Which I hope I can say the same for Seth, because there's no volleyball, but that's another topic for another. So for everyone here at IE Sports Radio, this is Teran Rodriguez. Have yourself a great rest of the night, a great rest of the weekend. Be safe on Black Friday, and keep on eating those Thanksgiving leftovers. Have a great rest of the night, and remember, SoCal is for SoCal.
Audio